There is a silence that speaks louder than any threat. There is a stillness that unnerves the loudest personalities in the room. There is a gaze that doesn't challenge but simply knows. This is the unnerving power that defines the most misunderstood man in any room, the man whose very presence subtly rewrites the rules of social engagement. Welcome, brothers, to the Sigma male community, the one place that understands this silent strength isn't a weakness, but the ultimate declaration of personal sovereignty. Today we are not just talking about being different, we are dissecting the very essence of why that difference is so profoundly intimidating to the established order. We will journey into the mind of the Sigma, exploring the stoic bedrock upon which his fortress of self is built, a fortress that terrifies those who rely on external validation and emotional theatrics. This isn't about scaring people for the sake of it, it's about understanding the natural reaction of a world unprepared for a man who is completely and unapologetically his own. Prepare to see the world, and perhaps yourself, through a lens of radical clarity. 1. The unconventional presence. Forget trying to box them in or pull their strings. Attempting to control a Sigma is like wrestling with smoke. The tighter you grasp, the more effortlessly they dissipate into the air, leaving you clutching at nothing. They possess an innate, highly tuned radar for manipulation, spotting hidden agendas, subtle power plays, and emotional coercion long before the average person even senses a shift in the atmosphere. This isn't defiance for defiance's sake, it's a fundamental rejection of inauthentic influence, a silent, unyielding declaration of sovereignty that leaves would-be controllers grasping at air, deeply unsettled by their own sudden and unexpected impotence. Their very existence disrupts the unspoken rules of hierarchy and social expectation, proving that not all power needs to be announced. This inherent imperviousness to influence creates a profound and palpable unease in those around them. In environments built on conformity, herd mentality, or blind loyalty, such as many corporate structures or social cliques, the Sigma's quiet refusal to be herded is a revolutionary act. Their tendency to rationally question illogical processes or challenge unearned authority, not with aggression but with unshakable logic, marks them as a dangerously unpredictable element. They aren't overtly rebellious. They simply operate on a different frequency, a wavelength of self-respect and reason that bypasses all attempts at domination. This makes them appear untouchable, a rogue variable that cannot be programmed, predicted, or broken, and that is inherently threatening to any system that relies on absolute control. 2. The weaponized void. In a world addicted to noise, validation, and constant verbal diarrhea, the Sigma male's deliberate silence isn't an absence of thought, it's a pressurized chamber of it. When conflict erupts and words begin to fly like shrapnel, their sudden, profound quiet becomes deafening, a strategic vacuum that sucks all the certainty and bluster out of opponents who rely on verbal sparring to feel powerful. This isn't a lack of something to say, it's the conscious decision that nothing needs to be said. Every unspoken moment forces others to confront their own echoes, to listen to the foolishness of their own words, amplifying their doubt and forcing them to project their own anxieties onto the Sigma's impassive canvas. The silence itself becomes the statement, heavy, unnerving, and utterly dominant. This calculated stillness, this stoic restraint, grants them immense and immediate control over any interaction. While others scramble to fill the void with justifications, excuses, or empty threats, they are revealing their entire hand, bleeding emotional energy. The Sigma, by contrast, remains a calm enigma. Their composure becomes an invisible force field, radiating an unnerving degree of self-mastery that most people can only dream of. So when they finally choose to speak, their words land with the force of a landslide, precisely because of the immense weight of the preceding silence. It's not weakness or passivity, it's the ultimate power play, withholding engagement until it serves a strategic purpose, forcing the entire world to lean in and listen, but only on their terms. 3. The strategic horizon. While the masses react to the present moment like startled deer caught in headlights, the Sigma navigates life by the stars of the future. Their minds are constantly running complex simulations, analyzing micro-expressions, environmental shifts, political undercurrents, and unspoken tensions to chart probable outcomes long before they manifest into reality. This isn't some mystical psychic ability, it is the product of hyper-observant pattern recognition combined with a ruthless dedication to logical projection. They see the dominoes lining up down the hall and around the corner while others are still arguing about the color of the first tile. This incredible foresight allows them to sidestep impending chaos, position themselves advantageously, and appear unervingly prepared when the predictable storm finally hits and sends everyone else scrambling for cover. Witnessing this anticipatory calm amidst widespread turmoil is a deeply intimidating experience for the unprepared. While colleagues sweat, rivals panic, and friends flail reactively, the Sigma moves with a quiet, deliberate purpose, as if they are following a script that only they can read. This creates a palpable aura of absolute control, making them seem almost prescient, as if they exist on a slightly different temporal plane. It's the Grandmaster playing chess 3 moves ahead while the opponent is still struggling to understand the consequences of their last move. Their ability to consistently bypass the reactive fray and operate from a position of calculated foresight makes them appear untouchable by the chaos that ensnares everyone else, serving as a constant, silent reminder of their strategic and mental superiority. 4. The Unflinching Mirror. When you ask a Sigma for their opinion, prepare for refraction, not reflection. Prepare for the truth, stripped of the comforting and useless filters that society depends on for its daily function. It's not about cruelty, it's about a devastating and efficient clarity. They have a unique ability to bypass the exhausting dance of euphemism, social lubrication, and polite fictions to deliver the unvarnished reality of a situation. This verbal scalpel cuts directly through layers of self-deception and collective delusion, laying bare the actual mechanics of a problem or the naked essence of a character flaw that others are too afraid to even acknowledge. It is honesty delivered without anesthetic because the truth, in their view, is its own medicine. This unadorned raw truth-telling is profoundly destabilizing for the average person. In a world padded with half-truths, white lies, and fragile egos, the Sigma's directness feels like a sudden blast of Arctic air. There is no buffer, no sugarcoating to soften the impact of reality. People instinctively flinch, not necessarily because the truth itself is unbearable, but because its direct delivery bypasses all of their expected social defenses and coping mechanisms. It forces an immediate, uncomfortable, and inescapable confrontation with reality, leaving absolutely no room for the comfortable denial that most people live within. This fearless commitment to raw truth, regardless of the social consequences, marks them as dangerously authentic and utterly impossible to manipulate with flattery or deceit. 5. The Clean Severance. For the Sigma male, attachment is a strategic choice, not a default state. When a Sigma identifies a relationship, a job, a situation, or an obligation as toxic, draining, or simply incongruent with their life's mission, they execute the disconnection with the clean precision of a surgeon. There will be no drawn-out drama, no fiery confrontations begging for reconsideration, no tearful appeals, just a quiet, irrevocable severance. This isn't an act of impulsive cruelty. It is the cold, hard calculus of self-preservation and the conservation of their most valuable resource, energy. They recognize diminishing returns and act decisively to eliminate the drain, viewing emotional baggage and pointless obligations as dead weight that is only slowing their ascent. The truly chilling aspect of this for outsiders lies in the absolute finality and the apparent lack of sentimentality. There is no backward glance, no lingering what-ifs, no doors left cracked open. Once the rational decision is made, the bridge is not just burned, it is utterly erased from the map, and the past is relegated to a closed history book. This capacity for absolute closure is terrifying to those who are accustomed to the messy, negotiable, and drama-filled nature of most human connections. It demonstrates a frightening level of emotional independence and stoic resolve, signaling that their loyalty and engagement are assets that are earned, not given, and can be withdrawn just as cleanly as they were offered, without warning or negotiation. Look around this space, you're here for a reason. Maybe you recognize that unsettling stillness within yourself, that internal compass pointing true north while the world spins chaotically. Or perhaps you've been unnerved by someone radiating that quiet, unyielding presence and need to understand the source. This friction, this unease Sigma males generate, isn't born of malice. It's the inevitable spark when absolute self-ownership collides with a world demanding conformity. Their very existence challenges unspoken contracts. The expectation to perform emotion, to seek validation, to be predictable, to yield control. For the Sigma watching, understand the intimidation is the shadow cast by your own light, the light of unapologetic autonomy. For the observer, that chill down your spine? That's the vibration of encountering a will that cannot be bent to fit the mold you know. It's the disruption of the familiar script, and that disruption is inherently powerful, inherently other. Now back to why that power reads as intimidation. 6. The Inner Citadel. Decisions forged in the fires of emotion? Not for the Sigma. Their choices emerge from the cool, sterile, and logical forge of pure reason. While others are buffeted by the chaotic storms of passion, sentimentality, public opinion, or social pressure, the Sigma operates from a fortified inner citadel where reason is the sole architect and ruler. Emotions are acknowledged, yes, they are observed as data, but they are rigorously quarantined from the decision-making process itself. This disciplined practice, a cornerstone of Stoic thought, results in actions that can seem alien, even inhuman to the outside world. Choices made for the optimal outcome, the greatest strategic advantage, or to uphold a fundamental principle, utterly divorced from how it feels or how it might look to others. This emotional detachment is profoundly intimidating because it renders them unpredictable on the most fundamental human level. You cannot sway them with appeals to pity, you cannot manipulate them with guilt, and you cannot inspire them with shared, irrational fervor. You simply cannot anticipate their moves based on conventional emotional triggers because they do not use the same operating system. Their actions stem from a cold, internal calculus that is completely invisible to the emotionally driven observer. This creates the sense that you are interacting with an impenetrable, unfeeling force, a grandmaster of chess in human form. Their unwavering commitment to rational outcomes, regardless of the emotional cost, marks them as operating on a different, seemingly colder and more powerful plane of existence. 7. The unseen current. Forget the alpha's chest-thumping roar. The Sigma's power flows like a deep, unseen and powerful ocean current. They have mastered the art of strategic invisibility, choosing to move through social and professional spaces with the quiet efficiency of a shadow. This is not shyness or a lack of confidence. It is a deliberate and tactical camouflage, a way to allow them to observe, analyze, and conserve precious energy while others waste theirs vying for the fleeting validation of the spotlight. They are often underestimated, overlooked, or dismissed as mere background noise, precisely because they avoid the unnecessary displays of ego that others crave. This cultivated anonymity is their greatest tactical advantage, allowing them to see the whole board without being a target. The true intimidation strikes when this unseen current suddenly and powerfully surfaces with devastating force. When the Sigma chooses to act, it is with pinpoint precision, impeccable timing, and a plan that has been weeks in the making, often exploiting a critical vulnerability or seizing a golden opportunity that everyone else, in their noisy distraction, completely missed. It's the checkmate delivered by the player who seemed passive and disengaged the entire game. This sudden revelation, the stark and shocking contrast between their perceived unassuming presence and their potent, decisive capability, is jarring. It forces a rapid, uncomfortable, and often fearful reassessment in the minds of all who witness it. What else don't I see? What else are they capable of? 8. The Armor of Self-Containment. Sigma males possess a radical form of emotional and psychological self-sufficiency that often reads as coldness or aloofness to the outside world. They do not seek external validation for their choices, they are not fueled by the need for constant social interaction, and they process their greatest challenges and celebrate their greatest victories internally. This profound independence, this inner world, creates an aura of near-total impenetrability. Where others visibly seek reassurance, approval, or a shoulder to cry on, the Sigma stands as a completely self-contained unit, seemingly indifferent to the social oxygen that others need to breathe. This imperviousness to the opinions and emotions of the crowd is deeply unsettling to the core of the social animal. Witnessing someone who genuinely does not need the group's approval, the leader's praise, or the crowd's adoration disrupts the fundamental dynamics of social power. It implies an inner stability and a reservoir of internal resources that is completely inaccessible to others. Their lack of overt neediness or visible vulnerability makes them appear untouchable by the usual social levers of reward and punishment. You cannot easily motivate them with praise nor can you deter them with disapproval, because their sense of worth is generated internally, not bestowed externally. This absolute self-possession, this stoic ability to thrive independently of any external emotional supply, is inherently intimidating in a world that is built on fragile interdependence and the constant, desperate exchange of social currency. 9. The Unapologetic Deviation. Society runs on a series of unwritten scripts. How to behave, what to desire, how to express ambition, what a successful life is supposed to look like. The Sigma male is a walking, breathing deviation from every single one of those scripts. Their values, their goals, and their methods for achieving them often exist on a plane that is completely orthogonal to the mainstream. They will pursue a path that seems inexplicable to their family, they will derive deep satisfaction from unconventional sources of achievement, and they unapologetically reject the prescribed cookie-cutter definitions of success, happiness, or masculinity that are peddled by the culture. This isn't an act of rebellion for attention. It's a quiet, fundamental, and irreversible misalignment with the dominant frequency of the herd. This consistent and calm deviation is deeply unnerving to the system and to the people who blindly follow it. It challenges the comfort of predictability and the shared cultural narrative that gives most people their sense of identity and security. People struggle to categorize the Sigma, to understand their motivations, or to apply the familiar forms of social pressure that work on everyone else. Their life choices, by their very existence, implicitly question the validity of the common path, forcing observers to confront the terrifying possibility that their own choices might be the product of mere conformity rather than conscious decision. This inherent otherness, this refusal to play by the understood rules even while operating within the system, creates a persistent, low-level anxiety in all who rely on societal norms for stability and validation. 10. The economy of reaction. While most people are emotional pinballs, ricocheting helplessly off every stimulus that comes their way, the Sigma male practices an extreme economy of reaction. Insults, provocations, sudden changes in plans, hollow displays of authority, they meet these events with a near impenetrable calm or, at most, the raised eyebrow of a detached analyst. They filter the entire world through a fine sieve of relevance, consciously refusing to expend their precious mental and emotional energy on trivialities, manufactured outrage, or the desperate attempts of others to provoke an emotional response. This is not emotional suppression. It is a profound and disciplined selectivity, a conscious choice to engage only with what truly matters to their mission. This minimal reactivity is an incredibly intimidating trait. It renders the common tactics of manipulation, intimidation, and social jockeying utterly ineffective and obsolete. Trying to get a rise out of a Sigma is like shouting into the void. Your energy simply dissipates without effect. Their lack of an expected emotional response, be it anger, fear, excitement, or defensiveness, is deeply disorienting to the provocateur. It strips them of their sense of influence and control within the interaction. Faced with this unyielding, stoic calm, aggressors and manipulators often falter, their own bluster echoing hollowly in the space the Sigma refuses to fill. Their stillness becomes a mirror, reflecting the futility of the attack and making the aggressor feel exposed, childish, and ultimately ineffectual. 11. The master of their own universe. Ultimately, the deepest source of intimidation is not found in any single trait, but in the synthesis of them all, which points to one terrifying truth. The Sigma male is the sovereign of his own reality. He does not recognize external authority over his own mind and spirit. While others build their lives on foundations of social approval, corporate ladders, or the whims of a partner, the Sigma builds his on the bedrock of his own principles, values, and rational judgment. He is the king, the legislator, and the enforcer in the kingdom of his own mind. This internal locus of control is the rarest and most powerful form of freedom a man can achieve. This absolute self-sovereignty is the ultimate intimidation factor because it is something that cannot be fought, manipulated, or controlled. It makes the Sigma an island in the stormy sea of society, self-sufficient, self-defined, and immovable. People are intimidated because they instinctively recognize that they have no leverage. They sense that this man's happiness, his success, and his sense of self-worth are not up for negotiation and cannot be granted or taken away by any outside force. He has achieved what the Stoics called apatheia, a state of mind where one is not disturbed by the passions. In a world of puppets, the man with no strings is not just a king. He is a terrifying and incomprehensible god. So, the intimidation of the Sigma male is not an act of aggression. It is the natural consequence of radical self-ownership in a world that fears the truly free man. It is the shadow cast by a profound inner light. The power we've dissected today, the strategic silence, the unflinching logic, the armor of self-containment, is not something you acquire from the outside. It is something you uncover within yourself by chipping away everything that is not you. Let this be your call to action. Look inward. Acknowledge the parts of you that the world finds unnerving and understand that this is not a flaw, but the very source of your unique strength. If this resonated with you, if you recognized your own path in these words, then signal your presence. Press the like button to affirm this journey. Go to the comments and share which point, which weapon in the Sigma arsenal, you identify with the most. Your insights build the collective wisdom of this community. Share this video. Not for vanity, but as a beacon for other men navigating this path alone, searching for a language to describe their own nature. And if you are not yet a part of this fortress, subscribe to the Sigma Male community. For those who have already subscribed, ensure your notifications are activated, because our work here is far from over. This is not just a channel, it is a modern-day stoa, a training ground for the mind and a sanctuary for the independent spirit. Stay sovereign. Stay vigilant. And never, ever apologize for the silence that makes the world lean in to listen.